So about a month ago, Rock Paper Shotgun put out an article about the Bible coming to Steam, and the jokes just kinda came pouring in.
Pokédex complete. Fill the ark with 2 of every animal possible.
Game's been in development for over 2,000 years, still not yet feature complete at launch.
What are you doing, Judas-san?
How's it really? Well, I downloaded it, gave it a play, and I can safely say...
Genesis, chapter 1, the beginning. In the beginning...
It's a little buggy, but that's fine. It's a new game dev's first game, and they've made it clear this is a passion project that they will be actively updating over time. They have plans to add new languages, they've already been fixing bugs that have cropped up, and they're even looking at varying up their English translations of the Bible. Now, for some VN devs, the knee-jerk reaction to a game like this succeeding is, a successful indie game on Steam is all luck nowadays. And they'll leave it at that. But for other game devs, projects like this are really exciting to look at, because we're looking at games from a bit of a different critical lens. Most popular critics generally review media through formalist lenses. Based on a rubric of different metrics, they'll recommend to their audience if the media is worth consuming or not. Having some stats that you can use to compare one game to another makes it easier to decide between them, and minimizes the risk of spoilers. For a lot of YouTube critics, cultural and societal lenses have borne a lot of fruit. These lenses look at how work uplifted, ignored, or harmed people othered by society, how the work was reflective of the environment it was created in, or how the work changed the world around it. These types of critiques are great for looking at media from new, different angles, and can be a gateway into new perspectives or ideas that otherwise we might not have known about. Formalist, cultural, and societal lenses are all really useful literary lenses for digesting media, but for people who make games, we use a form of critical analysis that business people call market research, scientists call qualitative assessment, and military generals call reconnaissance. But whatever you call it, the game designer's perspective makes it really interesting to play games where they look bad but made money, look great but failed, seem entirely unique, or had a second installment with a significantly different Metacritic score. Again, it's a useful lens, because it's much easier to see what parts of a game made it successful or not. Just ask yourself, what are the game's intentions? What elements of the game help or hinder those intentions? Did it accomplish those goals? What elements of the game helped or hindered it financially? What elements of the marketing helped or hindered it financially? Did it financially succeed? And finally, what can I learn from this game? Using these questions, I can narrow down the most important parts of a game's success, and use that to inform my own game design decisions. So let's get back to that Bible. What was this game's intention? According to the creator, they're heavily visually impaired, and physical copies of Bibles are hard to read, and they've had trouble with apps and online versions of the Bible in the past, so they created a version of the Bible that fit their personal needs. So the intentionality is to create a disability-friendly Bible. What elements of the game help or hinder those intentions? I don't know exactly what type of visual impairment the creator has, but the black on tan is not super disability-friendly. And I couldn't find any settings to adjust the text size, so everything's just crammed on one screen. Did it accomplish those goals? If the creator really just made it for them to read easier, then hopefully they reached that goal. It's not unreadable, but it certainly could be better. What elements of the game helped or hindered it financially? Well, it had a super low development cost. The narrator of the Bible isn't credited, so I assume that's a public domain recording. About 5 months ago, they hired a digital artist to make the background, so let's be generous and say he paid $400 for the two of them. The trivia has a separate credited writer, and with 100 trivia questions, let's estimate they got $1 per question. The bulk of the programming is done by the creator, near as I can tell, in just 3 months. It's made in RenPy, a beginner-friendly free game engine, which I've covered a lot on this channel, and even for someone's first game, that's a pretty fast development cycle. So at $15 for each copy of the game, after Steam's cut, they only need to sell 48 copies to break even. That puts them in a really good spot. What elements of the marketing helped or hindered it financially? So this is where we're getting to the real core of this game's success. The Bible is the best-selling book of all time. Every hotel room has a Bible in the bedside table, and according to a lot of YouTube critics, we can't even escape the Bible in our fantasy stories. Again, it's a useful lens. According to the game's creator, they were surprised there wasn't already a Bible on Steam, and to be honest, So was I. I found out about this game because people were sharing the news via memes, and heck, the PC Gamer article is all jokes.
His heavenly vision won't support ray tracing, now or indeed ever. And gamers should know that the hero doesn't even turn up until the second half.
Everyone has their own jokes they want to add because the Bible is so ubiquitous, we have them at the ready. And they can't make these very specific jokes without mentioning the Bible game. Adding achievements, DLC, and even patches are all inherently funny things that make people want to make more jokes. And there are even people speedrunning the Bible for the joke. And they didn't do this with ads or massive social media presence. The very idea of their game was enough to make it go viral. Did it financially succeed? Let's say a quarter of everyone who bought the game on Steam left a review. Normally we'd estimate 1% of players would leave a review, but because of all the joke reviews, I think a much higher percentage than usual has been leaving comments. With 250 reviews and factoring in the Steam cut, we can conservatively estimate that it's made a little over $10,000. $10,000 in its first month really feels like it's kind of come out ahead here. So what can I learn from this game? I've learned that leveraging public domain stories is a valid strategy. I've learned that if you give people a reason to want to talk about your game, they will. And I've learned that if I'm surprised something doesn't exist, there's something inherently sticky about that idea. Now, does that mean all of this stuff is important for a game to do well? No. Look at enough games and you will find there are a lot of different strategies for success. And what works for one game might not work for another. But you'll find there's still some basic strategies that work no matter what kind of game you're working on. And in this next video, I'll show you what those basics are. And when game devs are doing recon on your game, they'll go, ooh, this was a good game. Did a lot of things right. Just had a good teacher. You can tell them it's me. It's fine.